This is MuggleCast, the Harry Potter podcast discussing everything about J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. Welcome to episode 340 of MuggleCast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Micah.
Well, it's been one of those weeks where we're planning something to talk about, and then J.K. Rowling pulls the rug out underneath our feet, and we decide to talk about something completely different. In this case, there's been some big Fantastic Beasts casting news that we're going to talk about and try to figure out. Everybody's wondering, what is Nicolas Flamel going to do in Fantastic Beasts 2? If you haven't heard this news yet, surprise, he's going to be in Fantastic Beasts 2.
Amazing.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
That's what we're here for. We're your Harry Potter friends. We're the people chilling by the lockers, talking about that new news that broke over the weekend on Pottermore.
Yeah.
And we're also going to talk about the new Prisoner of Azkaban Illustrated Edition, which is now out.
Yay.
Meanwhile, Cursed Child ticket registration is, it's all up in the air right now. They're looking at our registrations, deciding if we're real fans or not. I know one of our listeners, Madison, made a big post on Instagram with a bunch of photos proving that she is a real fan. She said, Ticketmaster, please, look, I'm real. Please verify me.
I have the feeling that given all the tweets that I've made and comments that I've made over the years on this podcast, I may not be in line to get tickets on
You've slowly delegitimized
16th.
yourself as a true fan, Micah.
You'll be deemed a verified jerk.
Wouldn't be the first time.
So we'll talk all about all of that and more on today's episode. Eric, we're gearing up for another Harry Potter trivia night here in Chicago.
Yeah, we are.
We have one happening Tuesday.
Yep, 2 days from now, we are going to be stretching our minds and racking our brains.
I'm
racking
scared.
Our loaves for... You're scared?
After the last one we went to, the questions were just so hard.
We got second place, though.
Well, no thanks to me.
Well, look, there are strong links and weaker links, and Catherine, who was with us, is definitely the strongest out of the group that I've ever seen.
Is she coming back?
Yeah, she'll be there.
Oh,
all the
thank
sisters will be there.
Andrew feels so much better now.
I do.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I wouldn't have gotten us a table and stuff if Catherine couldn't make it. Let's just be honest.
Okay, good.
Is it at the same bar?
No. This is at the Davis Theater, which is the brand newly refurbished Davis Theater, very historic theater. Charlie Chaplin used to play there when it was like a performance theater. Now it's a movie theater, and they have this bar called the Carbon Arc, and they do trivia every week. But so this is like the theater itself runs it. Actually, the person in charge is named Lily. Which is fitting, and she's an HP superfan, so she decided to do Harry Potter trivia. So this is a one-off thing. There's roaming Harry Potter trivias that happen monthly in Chicago that, like, Andrew, the one we went to was like Brain Bash trivia, and like they do those often, but this is like a one-off thing. Something tells me that the difficulty will be lower as a result of that. So I'm hoping, but it also may mean that we have more competition.
So I was going to say, does that mean you're guaranteeing a first place victory if the competition in terms of the level of difficulty of question is lower in your estimation?
I don't know. It really depends on what got us last time was all those really intense, hard questions being placed in the slots where you have an opportunity for double points. All I can say is, unfortunately, it has sold out already, registrations or pre-registrations. So basically they just, they take reservations for tables. And if you can't get a table, you can't play. And the Carbon Arc, which is really, really big, has filled up. So, we're just going to have as passionate Harry Potter fans as we always do at these things.
Yeah.
Is it book or movie trivia or both?
That remains to be seen. Something honestly tells me it might be movie just because this is a movie theater. But I'm not 100% on that. We'll report back next week. But Andrew, I'm so glad you're coming out.
Of course.
We're gonna do this.
Look, I'm trying to make friends here in Chicago,
Yeah.
and trying to join some social circles. And Eric is the king of socializing. I mean, he's doing something every day, it seems like. I'm just like, oh, no.
Yeah, come out. Be my friend. Yeah.
Be my friend.
Be my friend. Come on. You said you want to make friends. Come on out. Be my friend.
And is it not coincidental that on a Tuesday our story begins, and it's a Tuesday that you're going to be out there doing trivia?
Very appropriate.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This was actually the first trivia that I had heard of happening. The other one was a super surprise. The one that was sponsored by the Potterotica podcast at the was it the Irish Oak? I want to say is the name of the bar we were at last time. But yeah, so this was the one Andrew and I were originally going to go to celebrate his moving to Chicago.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Speaking of trivia night, at the last one we learned about this new Potterotica podcast. And Eric, speaking of being a social animal, you went to their live show?
I did. I'm sorry you couldn't join me.
Yeah, I was busy.
We won, so as part of our second place winnings for the last trivia night, we got tickets to the Potterotica live show, which was last Thursday at Chicago Theater Works, which is a really cool venue. And I just have to say, whatever my expectations were going into this thing, knowing that it's a podcast that reads erotic Harry Potter fan fiction, I was not expecting the hilarious, wonderful, creative, public social experience that I got. Basically, we walk in, the whole hall is decked out. They have a kinky Harry Potter photo booth. They have themed cocktails, which is really, really hard to do, by the way. Themed cocktails at like just some event that you're gonna do. Getting the bartenders to agree to that and like know that and make good drinks is huge. And this was all set up, and the stage was set up, and basically Allie, Lindsay, and Danny, who are the hosts of the Potterotica podcast, came out, explained a little bit about what they do, and essentially read Harry Potter fan fiction. But they comment on it very much like Mystery Science Theater 3000 or riff tracks on it as it's happening. And there's audience participation because anytime we hear something that we like or dislike, we could sort of vote on it by holding up two different slips of paper. Anyway, it was an absolute blast. And honestly, it was a really unique sense of community when all of these crazy things that happen in Harry Potter fan fiction are being announced, and really just fellow adults are belly laughing.
Yeah.
Because they are so silly or so erotic or so, it was just the intersection of Harry Potter and sex is not something I ever thought I would venture into or towards, but it's done with a beautiful sense of humor and really creative, intelligent people running this show. So, hey, I was blown away. I will be at their next live show, that's for sure.
Good stuff. So, moving on. Moving on to some news now.
More about Eric.
More about Eric, yeah. That's why I'm laughing. So Eric just wanted to note he had a big moment. He got a tweet liked by J.K. Rowling. Congratulations, Eric. Well, let's talk about this as we talk about the Prisoner of Azkaban Illustrated Edition.
Absolutely.
I think that makes more sense. Mm-hmm. So Cursed Child registration has now closed. Hopefully you registered. Registration was open between October 1st and 5th. We documented it last episode. So now, like I said at the top of the show, they are sorting through all the registrations, seeing who's real, who's not, who's a jerk, and emails telling us if we are verified fans / if we are going to receive a unique registration code are going to be coming in about a week. October 16th. Is that for sure? Did they say that on the website or something?
Yeah. In the
email.
recap.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then tickets
Fake
themselves
news.
are... Huh?
I said fake news.
Fake news. And then tickets themselves are actually going to go on sale on October 18th. So anybody who received a unique registration code will be able to grab some tickets.
This will be an ongoing thing. We won't know if we've gotten in until 2 episodes from now.
Exactly. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how everybody does, how many people actually get codes, all that.
Yeah.
And as we wait for that, the Prisoner of Azkaban Illustrated Edition came out last week. This is, for anyone who doesn't know or needs a refresher, 2 years ago, the books began to be republished in beautiful illustrated editions. So far, we're on a yearly schedule, which is really cool. Jim Kay is illustrating these books. These are published at the same time by Scholastic and Bloomsbury, the US and UK publishers. We all got our hands on these new books this week. Eric, it looks like you went through it page by page.
I definitely spent about 30 minutes paging through just to get a general overview.
Yeah. I skimmed through it. I want to read it. I want to read this edition. The first 2 books I did that, and I just loved reading it in this format.
Yeah.
One of the problems is, though, you have to read it at home. These books really are not portable. You can't take them on planes. You can't take them to coffee shops, really. They're just so large.
Yeah, I'm sure people will, but I know what you're saying. They're basically coffee table books. They're the kind of book you have in your living room, and they're like a centerpiece or focal point for discussion, but they're heavy. I'm holding mine right now, and it's a whopper. And this isn't even one of the bigger Harry Potter books.
Yeah, can you imagine what Goblet of Fire is going to look like? And this one is noticeably larger than the first 2 books.
They're going to have to start at least binding them in 2 parts. I think.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what they do. But anyway, I continue to be blown away by Jim Kay's work. I think it's so fun to turn the page and be surprised by a new illustration. I love how the colors of the background and the text will change. So on some pages, like right now I'm on page 193, it's chapter 13, Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw. It's a black background with a white text, and often that kind of theme reflects a darker mood going on in that part of the story. I think when the Dementors swoop in towards the end, those are black pages with white text as well.
That's been used successfully. I think the Death Day Party is also like that, and it really worked with the artwork that they were showing in Chamber of Secrets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a great illustration of Sirius Black in here. Mm-hmm. This is our first look at him. All the chapter headers have gorgeous art. I don't know. I just love it. What do you think, Micah? Did you peruse it?
I thought you were going to say, did you purchase it?
I know you purchased it, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I did. I did look through it, kind of similar to Eric. Went through page by page, see what jumped out at me, and I agree. I mean, I think it's a really well illustrated book. It's interesting to see how the author interprets certain characters or certain locations. They have some have like this quirky feel to them. I'm thinking about the greenhouses. There's one depiction of those, I think, and they have like this really weird kind of A Nightmare Before Christmas type feel to them.
Yeah,
and I thought the Sirius depiction was really well done. Remus as well. We used that shot in our Twitter post earlier this week, asking listeners what they thought about the illustrated edition. But overall, I'm going to keep looking forward to these books as they're released over the next couple of years.
Lupin looks great, and I love the mood that Jim Kay will capture. Like in this one of Lupin, it's a full page. It's a black and white sketch. He's got his hands in his pockets, and he's kind of looking down at the ground. Like, you can just read his face and read his emotions in that sketch. And I was just going to say, I do like the surprises like that, where some of these illustrations are full color, and then others are just a black and white sketch.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention Lupin, because I'm so glad there was a portrait of him. And it's a good one, but it takes place 6 pages from the end of the book. Like, it's
Yeah.
at the very end when he's packing up to go home. And Prisoner of Azkaban, for my taste, is so much more of a Lupin book that I would have expected more paintings in terms of quantity of my second favorite character in the Harry Potter series. So, this is basically I was going through specifically looking for Lupin, and I was very surprised that he only appears twice. And again, having to search the whole book and only finding him at the end was very upsetting. And then the other painting mentioned is actually in the Dementor chapter on the Hogwarts Express, when it's sort of a reflection of Lupin's face in a mirror as he and Harry are watching the Dementor come in. At least it isn't Ginny Weasley's scenario where she's not in the book. And by the way, there is a portrait of Ginny Weasley in this book. But it doesn't quite make up for her absence in Chamber of Secrets, because it's not a flattering portrait of Ginny, and it's just her and her entire family in Egypt. But even that is not really given its full painting due, I don't think, because it's just sort of a segmented photograph cut off by text in the back of one of these pages. So... I'm still a little at odds at what is being chosen to be painted. It seems like more of the dark stuff is being adapted, which that's exactly what my problem with the Prisoner of Azkaban movie has been too. It's like you're not really focusing on the light that's in these books, like the love. I mean, while it lasts, I don't see any of this stuff about marauders and animagi running around the grounds of Hogwarts being captured. And unfortunately, I that's what I choose to remember Prisoner of Azkaban, my favorite book by.
I do wonder how many illustrations are in this book. I haven't had a chance to count them yet, but I know the first two had around 100, and since this book is longer, I wonder if there are more.
I don't think there are more. Paging through, I noticed a lot more of like the filler pages that are like one or two little nuanced things going on in the background. Like if you look at page 89, it's really cool. It's a white background, and there's just a little coffee stain. Like somebody set their mug down while reading a Harry Potter book, and there's a coffee stain on the page. And that's all there is for an entire spread for 2 pages is a white background,
just to
coffee stain.
Jump in for a second. I mean, I think for that particular page, that's supposed to tie into the chapter title, right? If you're reading tea leaves, you need a cup of tea, and I don't think it's coffee. I think it's a teacup.
See, so it's creative. It's clever. But yeah, I just noticed a lot more pages where that goes on than fully illustrated pages. And the ones that are illustrated look like James and the Giant Peach or Nightmare Before Christmas times.
So you saw Scabbers, and you tweeted J.K. Rowling. And you were torn about Scabbers because Scabbers / Peter Pettigrew looks very cute.
Yeah.
So you like him, but you don't want to like him because he's Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah, Peter Pettigrew in this book is adorable. In complete contrast to everything I was saying about the artwork being dark and not, I don't know, lovely. Peter Pettigrew is adorable. And you kind of want to pet him and save him and protect him from harm. You guys, he's actually in the he's got probably the most portraits of any one character in any of these illustrated editions so far. Harry might give him a run for his money, but there's tons of Scabbers in this book, you guys, and he's adorable. So yeah, I tweeted J.K. Rowling having mixed feelings about Peter Pettigrew after seeing Jim Kay's take on the man. #cute traitor illustrated HP, and I found out later that night, although I didn't get a notification, but I guess I looked for it and found that she had liked the tweet.
Eric was doing his daily, nightly ritual where he
did
sees
J.K. Rowling
J.K.
like
Rowling
any
has
of my
liked any of his tweets. And finally, his dream came true.
So I'm in the club, you guys, because I'm pretty sure. So Andrew, you're in this club. She actually @replied you.
Yeah, well, she hates me now, but yeah, there was a time where our relationship was brighter. And,
you made her blush.
Yeah, I made her blush. It's hanging next to my bed, actually.
Yeah. So I'm totally gonna canvas frame this this screenshot I took of J.K. Rowling liking my tweet. So,
All right. Well, congratulations there. That is the illustrated edition. We did get some listener feedback, Micah. What our listeners say?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, positive reviews. Kim Doolin said that she loved it. My favorite has to be the Marauders map. Pig the Owl is the cutest, so disagrees with you, Eric, a little bit there as it relates to Scabbers.
huh.
The Patronus scenes are beautiful, and the hippogriffs are gorgeous.
There is a great one of the hippogriff it's in Hagrid's hut.
Yes.
Yeah, on the bed. That's definitely one of the standout artwork pieces.
Well, how about the one with I don't have it open right now, but Harry isn't like Harry, Hermione, and Buckbeak or something like that?
I don't
Towards
remember
the
that.
end?
Taking off, like the flight.
Yeah, I'm trying to
I
flip through.
saw a screenshot of that picture, but I didn't see it when I was flipping through, but I know it's in there.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Okay, I'm seeing that one you guys are talking about.
It's basically a takeoff of the British Prisoner of Azkaban cover.
Yes.
Them on the back of the. It just seems to be from the same angle. Okay, I found it. It's page 311.
10 to page 311.
Tom's
Yes, that
page
one.
300.
Yep.
Trying to
that-
get there.
That
This
one's
this very much looks like if you look at all the international book covers for Prisoner of Azkaban, a whopping majority of them showcase the hippogriff. But in particular, this reminds me of the UK children's edition shot. But it's obviously more detailed.
I would like to see a illustrate the art of the illustrated editions book one day. Like they take out all the illustrated pieces and publish them all in one book. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Like kind of redundant, but
No, it wouldn't be cool.
I think I would probably because I look at some of this art and I'm just like I want to hang this on my wall. I want to tear this page out and put it on my wall.
You should do it, and then you can take the book back to Barnes & Noble.
See if they accept it.
There's also a great shot on page 86 and 87, which is multiple hippogriffs.
Okay.
All right. But enough about
going through
hippogriffs.
the-
I was going to say, too, that as I was looking through, it reminded me that I was pretty happy that Sir Cadogan made the cut.
That's my favorite.
He's running away in one of the illustrations, and
From his horse, from his noble steed.
exactly. So Jed also tweeted in, the back third of the book needed a lot of pictures. I was hoping for stuff on the Marauders and the Time Turner scenes.
Yeah, there are blind spots is all.
As there will be in any of these books, so
There has
think
to be a
that's
cutting
just-
room floor, right? There's got to be illustrations that didn't make the cut.
I am actually not too sure about that because he must be so busy working on these that they must decide at a certain point, okay, all these are happening. Don't put a lot of work in to the ones we
Right.
know aren't happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe he'll do some sketches that just don't go very far.
Possible.
But these could be included in the art of the illustrated editions coming in 2028.
You're just continuing to feed Scholastic ideas on what they can do to make money moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inner Dialogue asked the question, is it weird that Parvati got a featured page before Ginny did?
You know, I was actually looking at this. Yes, it's weird, but also Parvati's scene here is really badass. It's in the Boggart and the Wardrobe. It's page 102 all the way through page 105, and it's her defeating the mummy, and it's absolutely really, really cool. It's one of the better pieces of art in the book. Another one I like is a spread or corresponding pages on 196 and 197 of Harry and Cho. They're not together, but it's like a headshot of each of them in Quidditch gear, and she's with her broom, and that's really cool because like he's looking at her kind of like, "Want to go ball with me?" and she's looking at him like, "Who are you again?" So it's pretty cool.
I would look, but this book is too big for my desk. I can't
See, that's why I
podcast
don't
and browse the
clap
book at the same time.
That's why I don't clap my hands when we record. It gets in the way.
Juliana said the illustrations were beautiful as always, but I wish there were more of them.
Yes, but we're never going to be pleased in that department fully, I don't think.
Abigail said, wish the Sirius Black Wanted poster was included, since the artist would have made it look so neat. Plus, it stuck with me as a kid.
Maybe this is just a random thought I have, but thinking about this and Ginny, maybe he feels like he's trying to feature things that aren't seen as much. Because like that Wanted poster we see in the theme parks, and it's all over the movie.
True.
So maybe he just wants to add to the world instead of replacing some things.
Yeah.
I thought about that, but you get a full 2-page thing of Aunt Marge. You get a full 2-page thing of Dementor sucking Harry's soul out. Actually, the Dementors are in this book a lot.
Well, that's a key. That's a key scene.
It is a key scene. You're right.
Maybe he's into Aunt Marge.
Yeah, maybe. Snape's in here a couple times, which is nice.
Yeah.
I will say there's a total rabbit hole that you can fall down, though. This picture of Sirius Black, which is very, very dark, on page 257, has basically just... It's like when the door closes and the trio are looking and Black has appeared. It's like the big, big reveal. And it's a photo of him in the Shrieking Shack against the door, and on the wall there's this photo hanging, or this portrait. And, like everything is painted, so Jim Kay has to, paint even the picture on the wall, doing like a picture within a picture thing. But it's actually extremely creepy. There's like this bird-beaked creature with like a cauldron on its head and like talons, and it's actually in this instance it's painting a picture, and there's like a rabbit and something else at the bottom. What I found out, I was posting this to the MuggleCast patrons Facebook group, and it turns out that it's actually like an homage to the artist Bosch. And one triptych thing in particular that Bosch did, which I'm trying to find the title of it, but it's like the Garden of Delights or something like that, has this even weirder painting of that same creature, and it's very, 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 very dark and weird. But I thought it was cool because Jim Kay obviously is like taking this moment to use his artistic license and saying, well, the Shrieking Shack would have a Bosch in it, to do that. So it's sort of like he did with the art that's our cover art for our podcast, where it's Hermione at Hogwarts in front of the door.
Yes,
there's graffiti.
he drew that especially for our podcast.
No,
Thanks, Jim.
I'm saying, you know how there's graffiti on the door? Like, and we're like, wait a minute, that doesn't mesh with my idea of Hogwarts. There wouldn't be graffiti on the door. It's like that.
Yeah.
Just remember that Sirius is, an escaped, wanted mass murderer at the time. He's not supposed to be this character that's painted in a very charming, cavalier type of light. And he's not the person that we come to really like in subsequent books. So if you were thinking of an escaped prisoner, I think the illustration that Jim Kay makes is definitely one that's appropriate.
Sure. But 2 pages later, when Lupin is recounting how they were all friends and became animagi together, why don't you have a really nice flashback photo of that then? As a counterbalance. All I'm saying is there's so much darkness in this world. The new Fantastic Beasts movie is only going to get darker. Like, showcase the light when you can, damn it. So,
all right.
That's what I want.
So just to wrap up these responses that we got over on Twitter, Kayla said, I wish there was more of Lupin, especially during the scene post-Shrieking Shack. Also, not a lot of Time Turner action, so she agrees with Jed. 4 Kinds of Rice said, I feel morally opposed to any version of the books besides the original U.S. covers, but the drawings look really tasteful and nice. And Nicole rounds us out saying, spectacular illustrations. Jim Kay brings the world of Harry Potter to life.
And that's a good note to end on. I think that's what I love about these. He's bringing the books to life in a way that Scholastic and Bloomsbury and J.K. Rowling fully support. These are remarkable adaptations, editions, if you will. I know so many people are reading these to their kids for the first time because it's a great way to introduce kids to the world. I love it. I love it. These are good weapons, by the way. Like, if you had this on a plane and, God forbid, somebody, like, was trying to hijack it or something, you could kill somebody with this Prisoner of Azkaban book.
Yes, if I have to be bludgeoned to death, I hope it's with my favorite Harry Potter book.
I'm flying on Friday the 13th, so I think that would be a good day to bring my Prisoner of Azkaban book on the plane, just in case. You never know.
It's page 74, by the way, with Sir Cadogan running from his steed. I love it.
And that's another example of just including somebody you don't see in the movies as much.
Yeah, look, that's light. I love it. Give me more of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we wanted to talk about this Fantastic Beasts casting news that occurred a few days ago. This came out of nowhere. The production did a good job keeping this a secret. Normally, this type of thing comes out via one of these Hollywood trades like Deadline or The Hollywood Reporter. But Pottermore announced a slew of new castings, and there's two big headlines here. First, Nicolas Flamel is going to be in Fantastic Beasts 2.
Wow.
He is going to be played by Brontis Jodorowsky. Not a big actor. If you look at this guy, I can see him playing Nicolas Flamel. Sure, why not? And
why not?
A slew of other characters were announced, but we don't really know anything about them. We'll get to the characters. There's one Eric has fallen in love with immediately, and you'll instantly know why.
No.
But the other big headline here was that the actress Jessica Williams, who was a Daily Show correspondent, is going to be in the movie. We don't know who exactly she is playing, but it was very interesting and surprising because Jessica Williams has made no secret of how big of a Harry Potter fan she is. Funnily enough, her and J.K. Rowling first bonded over the Sims video game. And they started talking on Twitter about the Sims, and Jessica Williams told this whole story on an episode of Stephen Colbert's late night show earlier this year. So they bonded over the Sims. Jessica Williams was also talking about how big of a Harry Potter fan she is. She's diehard. When she finally met J.K. Rowling, she was freaking out. Like, Jessica Williams is the type of person, it would not surprise me if she visited MuggleNet back when she was a kid. Because, like, she is just a true Harry Potter fan like Ivana Lynch. She's 28 years old, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So she was cast in this new movie, and it must be thanks to how big of a fan she is. I feel like her and J.K. Rowling instantly hit it off, which is just so cool. Became friends, and then maybe J.K. Rowling was writing this movie, and she was like, I could see Jessica Williams in this role. So I bet she brought it to the producers, and they were probably like super into it. So anyway, we don't know about her, but we know who she's playing, but we know a couple other characters. First of all, Eric, are you sitting down? There's a character named Spielman.
What?
Eric's nickname has always been Spieler Man, so he couldn't believe this.
This is just Eric's week. I mean, first the tweet, and now he's getting a cast member named after him.
I don't know. I think it's probably a Polish surname, but I'll take it.
And then there's a character named Micah. I'm sensing a trend here. No, I'm kidding.
Not
Actually,
yet.
we don't know if not yet, and we have to go back to New York in the 20s for that. I think very old-fashioned, cool name. We don't know if Spielman is a good guy or a bad guy. So I guess I hope he's not like a very evil dude.
I think J.K. Rowling could have. There goes the Prisoner of Azkaban illustrated edition. If you just heard something hit
It
the
just
floor.
fall? I heard that.
It actually went through the floor. It's now on the floor below. That's how
Heavy it is.
heavy it is. Yeah,
It's like a
exactly.
grand piano.
But what I was going to say is the actor's name that's playing Spielman, Wolf Roth. I mean, that's almost like a Death Eater name right there.
Wolf Roth, yeah.
Is your Prisoner of Azkaban book okay?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I should actually take a picture of how it landed. It actually landed spine up.
Oh.
So clearly it protects itself. It has its own
the book is fine.
protection
Can't say
charm.
the same for the floor it landed on.
5
or the
bugs have just
plaster
died.
on the ceiling below just shattered.
So these other new characters, there's one named Bunty. She's played by Victoria Yates. There's one named Torquil Travers, played by Derek Riddle. Rosier, played by Poppy Corby Tooch. Arnold Guzman, played by Cornell S. John. And then Jessica Williams, we don't know who she's playing. And then along with her, she was grouped with an actress named Fiona Glasscott. So maybe those two are going to have roles together. And then we're also finding out this week that Carmen Ejogo, who played Seraphina Picquery, the head of MACUSA, is going to be in Fantastic Beasts 2. She revealed it via an Instagram post. She's back in the makeup chair, and she said it's for Fantastic Beasts. So
Love it.
MACUSA's president is heading over to Europe, where the second film is set,
Cool.
I guess.
It's funny to me, though, how, and I think we discussed this last time around, how Pottermore can't reveal because they don't know the roles that Jessica Williams or Fiona Glasscott are going to be playing. It's TBD at this point.
Oh yeah, they're only the messenger. They can't ever possibly tell us. It's
The site run by Warner Brothers and J.K. Rowling has no clue.
Well, I think to reveal their names would be a bit of a spoiler. I'm guessing that they are playing Lestranges. Because Jessica Williams is a black woman, and so is... I mean, okay. Two black people, they have to be related, Andrew? What the hell are you talking about? No, I just think that if they're not revealing her name either, I think there's probably a spoiler there, and they want to keep it under wraps. Because otherwise, why not? If it's a random character named Bunty, it doesn't matter if they're revealing the name. But they're but Jessica Williams is playing who's a significant, well-known actress, is joining this, and we don't know her name, and we're going to be knowing more about I'm forgetting her
Zoe
first name.
Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz, but what's Lita Lestrange.
Lita Lestrange, yeah.
We're going to be knowing Lita Lestrange is playing a bigger role in this new movie. Involves Newt. Her and Newt have a romantic relationship, presumably. Something's going on there. The world of Lita Lestrange is going to open up, and I think Jessica Williams is going to be involved there somehow.
Yeah. Getting back to Micah's point on Pottermore, this is the very first part of that article. It says, new characters and cast members have been announced for the new Fantastic Beasts story. I'm like, wait, but you're doing the announcing. Like, they're like, this is, again, it's written like a Harry Potter news website that isn't the provider of said news. It's like,
Pottermore is just so jealous that they weren't MuggleNet back in the day that they're trying to make up for it now.
no, I'm just saying, like, if you're making the announcement, don't say things have been announced. Say, we are announcing. We are proud to announce. Don't use
Right.
the passive voice.
All right.
Like, it's confusing if nothing else, because this whole article, it's like 1,000 words. I read it looking for a source. Then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on Pottermore.com. This is the source. Why are they
Source
pretending
me.
like they aren't the ones breaking this news? I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I think, in the casting that we got, there's quite a bit to talk about. I know we'll probably start off with Nicolas Flamel, but also Travers and Rosier are two very well-known Death Eater names from the Harry Potter series. And so there's a bunch of questions for us to ask there. Are they distant relatives? Are they perhaps one and the same in certain cases, depending on how old these characters are? That would put them right about at the right age for the Harry Potter series to be Voldemort's Death Eaters.
So interesting. Let's pull that thread. We have research here in the doc about who Travers and Rosier were. Let's talk about them first, actually.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to start with the question, though. If you have these two characters and there's known lineage in their family of being Death Eaters from the Harry Potter series, what would the equivalent of Grindelwald-era Death Eaters be called? Are we assuming that they align themselves with Grindelwald, just given their dark history? Are they perhaps friends of the Lestranges?
I feel like, yes, they are going to tie into the Lestrange family somehow. I don't know how, but I'm also trying to think about, like, when did the Death Eaters first form as a group?
I'm troubled by the question because I don't want to be like, oh, it's a bad family, bad eggs.
Yeah, we don't know.
Well, I think that's what it's going to be, right? It has to be.
Probably.
Because why else would they? I'm seeing here that Death Eaters, they go back as early as the first Wizarding War, which would be what this series, Fantastic Beasts film series, is leading up to. So I think what we may see are the early roots of Death Eaters forming. Maybe they're trying to band together, but they're unsure what to be or who to follow.
I think by First Wizarding War, I think they mean the one against Voldemort in the 80s. Because Voldemort had two wars centered around him. The first was when he first rose to power, and the second was the Battle of Hogwarts.
No, right, but the first Wizarding War kind of goes back to the first one. Goes back to the one we're leading to in Fantastic Beasts, aren't we?
That's the Second World War. But I don't know. It's confusing. I don't think Grindelwald would have Death Eaters, but I definitely think like he would have prominent followers, or these families, the Travers and the Rosier people, are probably of a like mind as their children will be one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's fair
even
to say.
in Fantastic Beasts, isn't it Queenie that knows just from the name Lestrange that there's something off about that family? There's something potentially evil about that family. So I agree with Andrew. This could be laying the groundwork with Travers and Rosier for future movies where we learn more and more about them, and they become integral to Grindelwald's plans. And maybe in that, we are leading up to the rise of Voldemort at some point. Does he tap into these families to use them in the years to come?
Yeah.
Because if Tom Riddle started meeting with who would eventually become Death Eaters at Hogwarts, that was in the 40s.
Yeah.
Because he was a student.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give like quick bios here, and ties into what you said, Andrew, in the Potter era, Evan Rosier is known for, number one, taking a chunk of Mad-Eye Moody's nose with him to the grave. So he is no longer alive as of Sorcerer's Stone, right? But he is mentioned by Dumbledore in Half-Blood Prince as a close friend of Voldemort's. So it is possible that this Evan Rosier was the person who went to school with Tom and eventually was fighting alongside him during sort of the rise to power that he had.
Interesting. I can just see a consortium of these fiendish families that are conspiring to bring real evil to like this and subjugation of Muggles to the widespread, world.
Yeah.
Like they're plotting. Maybe it's like not even happening with Grindelwald, but it's happening alongside, or we're shown that Evans and Rosier and a couple other like-minded families are really trying to build and find a dictator or a master.
Right.
I think we're going to see Tom Riddle at some point in these movies now, in light of these Death Eaters. And who knows, it could be this one, but they just want to keep it a surprise.
Well, I mean, he'd be a baby. He'd be 6 months old. He's born
okay, so maybe it's a little too early. But
yeah, but I think you're 100% right that this inclusion of Death Eater family names into Fantastic Beasts is very much a course alignment with eventually meeting Voldemort one day.
Right. And I agree. And Rosier is also mentioned notably in both book, but also in the Goblet of Fire movie by Karkaroff during the interrogation scene. Not recognizing the fact that he has already been killed by Mad-Eye. So
Evan Rosier.
Yeah.
Well, what about Travers?
So Travers is known for killing Marlene McKinnon being cursed by Kingsley in the Battle of the Seven Potters. He tries to catch Harry at the Lovegood home in Deathly Hallows. He is imperious by Harry during the break-in to Gringotts. He ends up dueling Parvati Patil in the Battle of Hogwarts. So he is very much around in the Harry Potter series, and probably shows up more than we would have expected him to, thanks to the HP lexicon for all this information. But Travers is definitely somebody to keep an eye on in Fantastic Beasts 2.
Yeah, also Ticketmaster has proclaimed that he is a verified jerk. Okay, yeah, so
let's talk Nicolas Flamel.
Yes.
When I saw his picture, I said Alfonso Cuarón has been cast in Fantastic Beasts 2. Was I the only one?
They cast the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah. Yes, he looks like that beer guy, doesn't he? What are you referring to, Eric, for anybody who doesn't know? Dos Equis,
marketing man.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Used to be, yeah, the stay thirsty guy.
The old guy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They've replaced him since.
Yeah. It's like it's either, I think it's a young guy. I think it's like an Ivy League 30-something now guy. But
so Nicolas Flamel, who of course is Pottermore has mentioned, but I mean he has a pretty prominent role in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be in Fantastic Beasts in some capacity. We don't know if he's going to be a major player. I feel like he's not going to be major. But for anyone who doesn't know, this guy who also existed in the real world, or in real outside of the Harry Potter world, is known in the wizarding world as an alchemist who discovered the elixir of life. And that's what Voldemort was after. Mm-hmm. So how could he tie into Fantastic Beasts? Presumably Grindelwald might be after the elixir of life.
I question whether or not the plot would be so like repetitive, like movie one, or like if Fantastic Beasts 1 was an intro, then the next film he's going to go after the Sorcerer's Stone. Then the next film, Grindelwald's going to try and open the Chamber of Secrets. Then I want that very much not to be what happens. But I think that several people have pointed out that the film's announced setting of being in Paris, and Nicolas Flamel is a Frenchman. That it may just be that we are on the turf of this guy who is prominent, and he's certainly, we know this, if nothing else, he's an ally of Dumbledore's. So it might be that Dumbledore has a mission for Newt. This is just speculation here. Has a mission for Newt, having to do with France, or maybe they're tracking Grindelwald to France, and Dumbledore tells Queenie and Tina and Newt to hang out and sort of have like a safe house with his buddy Nicholas, who he, worked on with alchemy.
Oh, he's like the Aberforth of the movies. Got a safe house somewhere,
like just a safe house. And so maybe it's a brief scene where our quartet, including Jacob, meet this 620-year-old guy and his wife Perenelle in the countryside.
I like that idea.
Could just be that.
Yeah.
I think it's more involved than that. I don't think. Yeah. I think he'll play a major role in the movie. I hope it's not to the extent, because as you mentioned, and even Madison on Twitter, you mentioned her earlier. She said, "Could Grindelwald want the elixir of life?" That feels a little repetitive, so let's hope it's something grander.
Right.
I agree. I don't think you can go down the road of creating the exact same storyline over again, because it's way too repetitive if you're looking back on Sorcerer's Stone. And I hope that it does have some sort of conclusion, though, that would at least tie into Sorcerer's Stone, because I feel like now we're getting to the point where the worlds are merging together a little bit more, and I feel like as the films progress, we'll have a better understanding more and more. I think we've heard that from David Heyman and David Yates. I think this is another way to do that. It's also a way to bring in those Potter fans who may not have had
Yeah.
as much of an interest in Fantastic Beasts at the outset, right? You're starting more and more to include things from the world that we know into the world that we don't. And I think that the Sorcerer's Stone, Nicolas Flamel, is just another way to do that.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of it being repetitive, though, we already know the Deathly Hallows are huge in these movies, because the Deathly Hallows, like that symbol, was Grindelwald's symbol. And he's using the legend of the Elder Wand, and he wants the Elder Wand, and actually gets the Elder Wand. We're going to see Dumbledore's wand from the future Harry Potter films in Grindelwald's hands, if they do it right, within the next few movies. He achieves the Elder Wand, and it just it's already going to be tying into Harry Potter in a huge way with the Deathly Hallows. Now we have Nicolas Flamel, who, again, interesting story, as you pointed out, Andrew, real life sort of character from British lore. J.K. Rowling chose a real life, I guess, legend to base her fantasy series off of, which was clever, but I never expected to see him in a film. And now we're going to actually have to meet this 600-plus-year-old man. I love the idea. I'm not sure what it means, but I think it has something to do with alchemy.
Well, I just feel like there's a connection here between the Deathly Hallows and the Elixir of Life. These both give you immense power, extraordinary power. So what if Grindelwald is somehow considering the Elixir of Life in addition to the Deathly Hallows?
Grindelwald doesn't strike me. I've said this before. Like, there's a key difference, I hope, between between Voldemort and Grindelwald, which is that Voldemort wants to live forever and never die, so the Sorcerer's Stone and the Unbeatable Wand and everything else seem perfect for him. But Grindelwald, I don't think Grindelwald is interested in, like, splitting his soul, per se. Maybe he wants the elixir so that he, like, is indestructible and can't be defeated. Like, I buy that sort of, but then you have a movie that's totally about the Sorcerer's Stone, so instead it's Newt Scamander in the Sorcerer's Stone instead of Harry Potter.
That's Fantastic Beasts too. That's what the title is going to be.
Yeah,
Newt Scamander in the Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah, or Philosophers, but that's just that's neither here nor there. I think it's possible he's after the elixir, but I hope that Grindelwald ultimately tries to achieve his power in a satisfyingly different way to how Voldemort tried to achieve power, because otherwise J.K. Rowling is totally repeating herself, and we talked about this last week. That's the one thing she doesn't want to do. She wants to be creatively new and refreshed and tell completely new stories. So why is she creating villains that are going after the same objects as the other villain that she's already written?
And getting back to including Harry Potter characters, I think each movie we're going to have a bone thrown to us.
Yeah.
This might be the bone of Fantastic Beasts 2, Nicolas Flamel, because a lot of people got really excited about this, even though he's not really like a major
Dumbledore.
character.
Let's not forget about him.
Of course. Oh yeah. Duh. But Dumbledore's going to be in the entire series, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe there will be multiple bones in each movie.
We know that Flamel can't die. Whatever happens to him, he can't die because he's still alive in Harry's first year of Hogwarts.
True. I do like the fact, though, that he serves some purpose to whatever the mission is that Newt is being tasked with in the second film, and that he can help him along the way. Perhaps the elixir of life is needed to save a particular beast. Who knows?
To save Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob will live forever now.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
I think alchemy will have something to do with it. Like, Flamel is an alchemist, and this is people who study the properties of metal and the transference of one metal into another. The Philosopher's Stone also changes anything into gold, anything it touches into gold. You know, this work, the famous Witches and Wizards card that Harry reads off of Dumbledore's, talks about Dumbledore's work in alchemy with Nicolas Flamel. There's got to be other magical discoveries that they have made. I mean, none as important necessarily as the stone for Nicolas Flamel, that which allows him to even meet Dumbledore, considering he was born 400 years before Dumbledore. But, I think that there are probably other discoveries, I hope, to be found or to be had that Flamel is aware of and helps our heroes out.
Let's go through this listener feedback. Micah, would you like to read these?
Sure. Heard from Lyndon, who says, perhaps the later films will show Nicolas Flamel giving the stone to Dumbledore / create a great transition to Sorcerer's Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely possible. Kevin Entwistle says, I bet the Niffler tries to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Our good friend Kyle, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, the Hufflepuff teacher, I'm guessing he is on some sort of council to provide guidance to the Ministry or Hogwarts staff.
I love that idea, that he is sort of just an advisor, because who wouldn't want a 400-year-old wizard who's, prolonged his life using magic to advise them how to proceed with their lives?
Mm-hmm.
Julianne Flume, somehow I don't think we will have a second villain seeking the Philosopher's Stone. Maybe he will save someone from dying with the elixir of life.
Ooh. Kind of like Phoenix Tears at the very last minute.
Aaron Hernandez, Albus probably attempts to use the stone to revive Ariana.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's
know.
the other thing is I was talking about with the friend, and my friend confused the Sorcerer's Stone with the Resurrection Stone. That's not what this listener is doing, because I think they just mean, like if Ariana's death scene occurs in this movie, Albus is going to call up Flamel to get him to try and
But
save
it would
her.
be a flashback if that scene is in this movie.
Yeah, I think we've talked about, like, Ariana's death probably already occurred based on the ages that they're said to have been in Deathly Hallows, the book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Samantha Divis, he was, quote, Dumbledore's partner on the Chocolate Frog cards. Maybe he leaves Flamel for Grindelwald. Can't wait to hear the next MuggleCast.
Tension!
A couple of people theorized that, but it appears Nicholas is very happily married to his wife, Perenelle.
Hey, if you want love triangles, read more or listen to more of that Potterotica podcast.
And then finally, Maddie says, Newt is researching a rare beast whose feather or something is a key ingredient in the elixir. Flamel will help locate the beast.
Here's why I like this. It has to eventually come back to beasts. If this is going to be the Fantastic Beasts quintology, it should have something to do with beasts. And these announcements excite me so much. But I really wonder, like, movie 2 now has so much, dare I say even too much going on with it. Remember, we're
There is a lot.
We're going to meet Newt's brother. We're going to find out what Newt's family life was like, or at least his relationship with his brother. Grindelwald is going to be escaping. Credence is still around, and that's confirmed. So we got to, this movie needs to make time for Credence. In addition to Dumbledore, in addition to probably going back to Hogwarts, in addition to whatever Grindelwald is up to, or the main plot of the movie that takes them to France. And now Nicolas Flamel is in town.
Yeah. I was thinking that as well, because looking at just this character announcement on a whole, this casting announcement on a whole, there's like 6 or 7 people who just joined. It's like, where's there going to be time for all this? And it wouldn't surprise me if
don't
a
forget
year...
the circus.
Yeah, the circus.
The circus?
It wouldn't surprise me if a year and a half from now we're looking back at some of these casting announcements being like, oh, remember when they said this person was going to be in the movie? Where were they?
Where were they?
They probably got cut out, like Theseus.
Well, the
did
circus
in number 1.
And the Lita stuff. Remember all the Lita stuff. We have to figure out everything that happened between Lita and Newt, whether it's in flashbacks or not. And Lita Lestrange is going to have a growing role in these films as well. So much stuff. But you know what? I did remember when you were just talking about that. Like, we thought that the newspaper people would have a huge role, right? The what are their names? John Voight's character and Shaw, the Shaws.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's 4 or 5 actors that were announced. And it's like, oh my God, Henry Shaw and his son and his other son. And we're like, I think you were right, Andrew, in suggesting too that some, like the Death Eaters, like they'd be grouped together. Like some of these characters would be part of Lita's story, because that has to be a big, focus of the film so far as we know. Like, I think that's correct. Much in the way that the Shaws and all of the, what is it, the Mary Lou Barebones, all the Barebones family too. Like, they barely have any lines, but there's 4 or 5 other actors as well that were announced in advance.
So these new characters could be the Shaws and Barebones of these future films.
Yeah,
where,
like
they
siblings.
Right, siblings, and I just mean like they have a significant amount of screen time, but they're done by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
But you know what this means? If there are so many characters and they have to keep cutting things, they just need to add more movies. Dun, 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 dun.
I guess this is honestly I'm tickled. It's an embarrassment of riches, as they say, that movie 2 seems to be so packed with plot or whatever. Like, clearly they're not hurting for places to go with the story.
Yeah.
There's very clearly a firm, like, interesting direction. I hope it doesn't get too far away from the beasts. Again, what I like about these movies is the beautiful, magical creatures and Newt's love for them, very Hufflepuff, and the 4 main characters. Remember, we also need to have time to advance Tina so that we like Tina more.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about all these other characters.
And Queenie and Jacob. What's Jacob going to do in the middle of all these wizards? Like, it's crazy. But, I like the lighter side of these movies. I think they'll still find time to find humor. But, yeah, it's just going to be insane. And now I know why there are 5 films and not
When
3.
I started writing these 5 films, I only imagined 5. And then, as I continued writing, the story expanded and grew in my head. And now we need 15 films to complete the story that I wish to tell.
What about 7?
Warner Brothers
What
is
if it
like, oh
actually
my
ends up-
God, yes. And
Yeah,
we're
it
all
gives
like,
us
oh
something
my
to talk
God,
about.
no, 15, no.
All right. Well, I think we can probably wrap up this discussion. There was one other question, and Andrew, you kind of touched on it earlier when you were talking about Seraphina Picquery, but we were wondering for quite some time whether or not she was going to actually return in Fantastic Beasts 2. We know Grindelwald is going to break out, presumably at the beginning of the film. Will her appearance be short-lived?
I think we did the math. She's still alive for, like, unless Fantastic Beasts 2 is set 2 years from the first one. It's not. It's only going to be like 6 months. I think then Seraphina is still alive when Grindelwald breaks out. Like, he doesn't break out and kill her to, like, escape. At least,
the timeline-wise, though, you're saying she's still in office.
She's in office. It's short-lived. She's in office for like another year, but it's only another year, and we don't know if she dies and that's why she leaves office. But I think at least it's safe to say, based on the math, that she will survive Grindelwald's escape from jail. So her role in this film could be anything.
Mm-hmm. All right, we still have lots to get to today. So let's keep moving here.
Mm.
On last week's episode, I did this impromptu Harry Potter Encyclopedia, the musical. It was a hit, got lots of great tweets. I'm always pleased when I make
somebody
people...
say they would stop supporting us on Patreon if you kept doing it?
Yes, but there was just one of those, though. There was 10 very positive tweets. People enjoyed it very much, so I decided to return with part 2. Everybody has purchased their tickets now, and we're really upgrading the production. I'm going to play a little music to go along with part 2.
Oh my God.
And just like the last one, I'm completely winging this. So bear with me. As you remember, last episode we ended on F, I believe. Fred is dead. Ended on a low note. So we'll continue now with G. G is for George, the brother of Fred, who died in Deathly Hallows. H for Harry? No. Hugo. I'm totally offbeat, but that's okay. Hugo didn't get enough screen time. I is for Ignotus, the wisest of the Peveril brothers. The invisibility cloak. So helpful to Harry. This is going terribly. J is for Joe Rowling, the creator of the series. And K is for Crumb, Victor Crumb. Hermione loves him, but he doesn't feel the same way. Sorry, Crumb. Wow, this is so bad.
It's just you picked a downbeat. You picked like a really like slow movie.
Yeah.
Keep going. You're doing it great. You're crushing.
Well, thank you. Trying to feel. Oh, this one could work. L is for Luna. Luna Lovegood was played by Ivana Lynch. She was a listener of the series, of the podcast. And I've just decided this musical is canceled. It's going really badly. Thank you, everybody, for turning out. Thank you for your support. I'll return to workshopping this play, and I'll produce something better for next
HP
week.
Encyclopedia the Musical by Jack Thorne and John Tiffany.
Yes. I mean, it sounds like Jack Thorne and John Tiffany wrote this. It's just so bad. It has no beat. It has
Actually,
no
I wrote
theme.
those later letters.
You did. I'm blaming you.
Thank you. Yeah, but I for Ignotus is, I think, a masterstroke. It's very.
That is good, because I couldn't think of one. I think that's where I gave up.
Yeah, and I was like, oh nope, he was the smartest. Lucky it wasn't Cadmus, because you had already done C.
Let me see what people over on Patreon are saying. Looks like we've just lost 10 more subscriptions. You're right, Micah.
I told you, but I mean, it started out good. It just, like you said, there just wasn't the same flow as last week. You know, I think it was the fact that it was new, it was different, and you surprised us all with your ability to sing.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Well, that shouldn't be a surprise. It comes out every once in a while.
It does.
My ability to sing, quote unquote.
All right. Well, let's get over to this Quizzitch question.
Okay.
Eric, I know this is getting you ready for Tuesday.
It is. This is why we took Kyle's name for a game and transported it into our segment for the show. But people are really liking this, and actually, as you talked about, Micah, on last week, I actually did ask Twitter now. So we actually are, even though we were battling with each other, we are now battling the listeners or seeing if anybody comes up with it, and we're going to read them. So actually, yeah, here's the question from last week that was decided. It says, what famous witches and wizards cards does Ron say that he is missing in book 1?
Mm-hmm. And this is on the train, right? When he's on his way in with Harry?
Yep, so Harry gets Dumbledore and says, I've got Dumbledore, and Ron's like, I've got an Undred myself, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he's missing Agrippa and Ptolemy. That was the correct answer, and I believe the first person to get it correct was Samantha Andor at Space Explorer Sam on Twitter.
Well, you should add her to your team on Tuesday night. Have her as a phone a friend if she's not in Chicago.
It actually says she's in Boston. And she's a full-time physics undergrad and part-time YouTuber, so she doesn't have time for us.
For Harry Potter Encyclopedia the Musical, I'll make S about you. S is for Samantha.
Space Explorer Sam.
So what is next week's question?
Next week's question, give me a book.
Book 2.
For 5.
Book
There is no 5. He only has 1 to 3.
1 to 3. Thank
1.
you. Okay, what did Harry say to open up the wall of snakes while in the chamber.
So we'll get that up on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to. We have a couple emails. We have one email. We have one text message. Since I mentioned the texting feature of our voicemail line, we've started getting text messages. But first of all, this email is from Riley. She says, "Hello, MuggleCast. My name is Riley, and I am as old as the show," meaning she's 12 or 13.
God.
I've been listening.
We're old guys.
I've been listening since episode 327, and I've sent at least 5 emails already, none of which have been read on the show. Thanks for breaking a little girl's heart, Andrew. Well, here you go, Riley. Anyway, I think that Fantastic Beasts 2 will have Newt's backstory explained. Here's what I think it will be. Newt goes to Hogwarts to ask Dumbledore for help when he sees a heart scratched into a wall, and a flashback begins. Young Newt and Lita are scratching the same image on the wall when a teacher shows up and asks to see them in his office. He then accuses them of releasing a Jarvie in Greenhouse 10. Newt takes all the blame while Lita is the real culprit. Because Lita is feeling so guilty, she doesn't want to be around Newt and be reminded of her guilt. Newt doesn't know this, and he thinks that she has turned bitter towards him. The flashback ends with Newt being expelled. He is snapped out of this reverie. Reverie. Wow. This little girl knows more than I do in terms of the English language. When Dumbledore begins talking, that is what I think Newt's backstory will be.
So, essentially an explanation of the Lita backstory, but through flashback.
We're definitely getting a flashback, I think, to Hogwarts. We know they're filming Hogwarts scenes with a younger Newt, even younger Dumbledore.
Oh, wow.
Right? That casting, remember?
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically that the Hogwarts location filming was with younger actors.
Well, we don't know that, but if they're casting these even younger roles...
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Where else would they be? It's not like they'll be in Paris when they're like 13.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good point.
And by the way, we want to mention, we love getting your emails sent in, but please try to keep them as short as possible. We read them all, but the longer ones we can't read on the air because
we have to truncate just to fit it in with the group.
And then there's this pressure to get everything that you wanted across on air. So please keep them as short as possible. 2 or 3 paragraphs if you want it right on the air would be the absolute max. But the length that Riley provided us, that was a good size email to read.
Well
so
done,
just keep
Riley.
that in mind. And here's our first ever text message that we're reading on air. It's from Adriana. Hey, MuggleCast, longtime listener, original Pickle Pack member here. I lost my shirt, though, sad face. I was listening to episode 338, and Kyle was confused about his Patronus, a bay stallion. Bay is a color of horse. Is it color or horse? Color of horse?
I think
Brown
that's
coat with,
what she means.
Darn you, autocorrect. Brown coat with black mane, tail, and points. If the stallion actively lives by the bay, that's just a bonus.
Oh,
also
man.
to Andrew, you mentioned several times on previous episodes that you went to midnight release parties in Ocean City, New Jersey. That happened to be where my first release party was, the old Atlantic bookstore on Boardwalk near 9th. There may be 7 people there in total. I hadn't thought to bring my robes. Keep up the great podcast. Adriana, we probably went to the same midnight release party because I went to Atlantic bookstore near 9th on Boardwalk as well.
What?
That was the one.
Worlds collide.
There was 2 bookstores up on the boardwalk, and I'm sad to report they're not there anymore.
Ugh.
Major bummer.
Well, it doesn't seem like they were well attended, even for a Harry Potter book release.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
7 people.
Adriana and I were trendsetters. I mean, I literally have a picture, and I'll have to post this, of myself waiting at Atlantic bookstores for Goblet of Fire, and there's only 7 or 8 people there. Adriana, maybe you're in the photo.
Adriana.
If you're there for Goblet of Fire, it's quite possible.
That would be really creepy.
Yeah.
And cool.
Let us listen to a couple voicemails now. We've been promising these for a while. Here's our first one.
Hi, MuggleCast. This is Stephanie Martin calling from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was listening to the Quidditch episode on my way home from work today, and I became fascinated by Kyle's question regarding the line, quote, "Dull Gray Tuesday, our story begins." Not necessarily because of the narrator, but because of the word Tuesday. When I got home, I did some research. It turns out that the day that Harry's parents were killed, October 31st, 1981, is actually a Saturday. At first, I thought that the lapse from Saturday to Tuesday was maybe purposeful. Perhaps the ministry was investigating or something. But no. On page 12 of the paperback Sorcerer's Stone, McGonagall says, quote, "What they're saying is that last night Voldemort turned up in Godric's Hollow." So, for Professor McGonagall, Tuesday is supposed to be November 1st, 1981, which is factually inconsistent with the day of the week for that date. It should be a Sunday. Anyway, I was super excited to geek out and do that research, even though I'm sure that some sharp-eyed Ravenclaw has already spotted it. Thanks to you guys and to Kyle for encouraging such a close reading of the text, and I can't wait for your next episode. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Stephanie. Found a little mistake there.
Yeah.
That was very well spoken, though. By the way, I don't think I could barely do this show without screwing up. I don't think I could leave a voicemail like that as organized as she was.
It's true. The words she used and the intonation and the way they fit together is something I'm jealous of too.
I think she was working off of a script, not to ruin her secret, but
well, if so, she's got great writing skills.
Which is smart to do because it's in voicemail live to tape. We're not going to edit you.
No, but Tuesday to Saturday, yeah, it's the HP timeline, like the established and later canonized by Joe HP timeline, doesn't always work out for days of the week, unfortunately. So I think it's just an error. It's not that there are like a missing 3 days necessarily, although there is a missing day, which is a huge. You can find it on all the old Harry Potter forums, talking about how Harry's parents died at night and Hagrid delivers Harry to Dumbledore at night. So what happened that entire day?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But yeah, so Tuesday, Sunday, it's happy days. It's fun.
Happy days.
What
By the way, we
day.
get a lot of positive feedback about that Kyle episode. So good job, Kyle.
We gotta have him back.
Everybody loves your episode. People want to follow him on Twitter, which is Hufflepuff Teach, by the way, and that's his username if you want to follow him.
Hufflepuff.
Fellow teachers I know we're interested in connecting with him. Here's our next voicemail. This is a sweet one.
Hey, MuggleCast. This is Diane from Toronto. Recent listener. I just started listening about maybe 2 weeks ago, and I am freaking loving it. What a great podcast. I've always wanted. I've always wanted a Harry Potter podcast. I just never knew that I wanted it or needed it. And I was recently on the train, and I saw a lady reading The Goblet of Fire, and so I started talking to her, and it turns out that was the first time that she had ever read the book, and she started reading the entire series to her son, who's about 5 years old, and she just got addicted to it, so I told her about your podcast, and that was that. I have to say that the podcast is really helping me right now, when I recently quit my job, feeling a little down, and just having this on while I'm painting is fantastic. So thank you so much for what you're doing. You guys are all doing a great job. All right. Have a great day. Man, I just spilled some coffee on my hand. All right. See ya.
Spilled some coffee on my hand. All right. Well, that was sweet. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
We always love to hear how the show is helping people.
Well, and the fact that she recommended us to a random person on the... It's interesting how easy conversation can start between people when I guess it's around any subject, but particularly around Potter. I think people feel more comfortable going up to somebody who's sitting there reading the book, and then you find out that she is actually reading this book to her son, and so Diane turns around and makes the recommendation, oh, well, you should maybe give a listen to this podcast as well.
Yeah. Okay, here's our next voicemail.
Hi, MuggleCast. My name is Simon Quintel, and I live in a small town in Ontario called Guelph. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. But I just want to say I'm a big fan of your show. I've been listening to it about a year now, and I've been liking Harry Potter for about 3 years now. But watching my friends still tell me stuff like, you don't know this, you don't know how old Dumbledore is, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted to call in because this is the first time doing this. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions. One is, what's your favorite character? 2, I forgot, but what houses are you in? And 3, what's your favorite Harry Potter book? Thank you. And keep on doing your show. It's really awesome. Bye.
Favorite book, favorite character, favorite book, Order of the Phoenix. Favorite character, Dumbledore. House, I'm currently a Slytherin. We will see if I
If
remain.
that changes.
Yes, in the new year. You guys?
For me, favorite book, Prisoner of Azkaban. Favorite character, Remus Lupin. And then Ravenclaw.
Favorite book, Prisoner of Azkaban. Favorite character, Sirius Black. And House Hufflepuff.
Okay. That was a cute voicemail.
That was very cute.
A lot of listeners in Toronto. Or, sorry, in Canada.
Yeah.
Canadian.
Here's our next one. Last one.
Hey, y'all. My
Hey.
name is Emily, and I just wanted to call in and let y'all know how much I enjoy listening to your podcast. I probably started listening maybe about a year ago. I am a runner, and I used to listen to all the Harry Potter audiobooks on my runs, but after hearing each one upwards of 7 times,
Whoa.
I decided to try a podcast. So listening to y'all, it got me through the Boston Marathon training and a lot of long miles. I'm sure the whole town of Nashville, well, North Carolina, they probably think I'm crazy because I listen to y'all with it just in my sports bra, so all of Nashville hears y'all yelling out loud. But I just wanted to say, keep up the good work. Thanks.
So, if I understand this, she when she's running, she puts her phone in her sports bra, does not plug in headphones, I guess because the wires are bouncing and it's just they just get in the way. And so she just listens out loud.
Speakerphone. Yeah. You know, we should hire people to run around with MuggleCast playing through their phones.
Loudly, yeah.
Into public. Yeah, absolutely.
Keep running. Keep going, Emily.
This is fantastic, hearing about this. Like, Emily, like, I would love one day to be physically fit enough to complete a marathon, and I want to get into running. So it's just fantastic to hear that somebody who is so active and able to train and is disciplined enough is also a listener of our show. Yeah. So.
Well,
I
Eric,
can't imagine running to a podcast or an audiobook. I need music to pump me up, not people talking.
Andrew, don't discourage people from.
No, I'm just saying my personal opinion is I need music.
We just need higher BPM, not that stuff you found for today's music.
Eric, when you do train for your first marathon, I think that you should also put your favorite podcast inside your sports bra and take some photos for us.
Yeah, sure.
That's cool. Thank you, Emily, for letting us know how you listen to the show. And 7 times with the audiobooks. Damn. You run over here for Harry Potter trivia night.
Oh, yeah.
Help us out.
Although it is all sold out, like I said.
Well, she can join our team. You got
to kick your friend off.
No, I'll kick one of the sisters out.
Stop.
I'll kick my friend out. Thanks, everybody, for listening. It's been a fun episode. We're going to record a bonus MuggleCast right after this. What are we talking about, Eric?
We are talking, so I mentioned Sirius Black. We were originally going to talk about an event from Prisoner of Azkaban. Again, because the illustrated edition is out, Andrew was thinking, hey, we should do like, Prisoner of Azkaban
POA
deep
related.
dive of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see what we can do. So for bonus MuggleCast, it's a great one. We're going to be talking about an event that I forgot occurred in the Harry Potter books, the prank that Sirius plays on Snape, involving Lupin and the Shrieking Shack and the Whomping Willow and all that stuff, as detailed in the chapter Cat, Rat, and Dog.
Okay. If you would like to be one of the people who calls in and has your voicemail played on the show, you can dial 1-920-3-MUGGLE. That's 1-920-368-4453. You can also text that number if you would like to send us a message that way. You can also email MuggleCast@gmail.com or use the contact form on the website. Just remember, if you're writing a message, keep it as short as possible if you want us to read it on the air. A paragraph or two would be ideal. And then if you want to be limited, if you want to be forced to keep your message as concise as possible, maybe you should tweet us. Twitter.com/MuggleCast or just @MuggleCast if you're composing tweets. If you have that new 280 character limit on Twitter, that gives you a little more room to work with. I don't have that yet. I'm jealous.
No, they gave it to verified accounts first.
Isn't Andrew verified?
No.
I thought you were
on
for
Twitter.
some reason.
Not on Twitter. I'm not cool enough. We would also love your support over on Patreon, patreon.com/MuggleCast. Thanks to everybody who's listening live right now. You also get ad-free versions of the podcast. You get signed album art. You get access to our exclusive Facebook group. You can help shape discussions that we do here on the show. We'll send you stickers. You'll also have the opportunity to co-host MuggleCast. We'll get somebody on for our next episode. Patreon.com/MuggleCast. It is why the show is weekly.
That's true.
So we're going to wrap it up here and get recording bonus MuggleCast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate your support. So much to talk about in the weeks ahead as more books are released, as Chris Child tickets go on sale. Look forward to doing it all. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
And Micah.
See you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.